Hello again, it's Garson, and sometimes we ask very important questions like, why? Why indeed? So, let's go ahead and pull back the picture here. Why? Why is there a giant owlbear? Don't worry about it. Probably has something to do with the next team. So, we've already kind of plotted out the next run. And of course, you guys have a lot of questions, given that, if you look at the top left, the stress test was updated, so we had to change some things. We're working on the team, and naturally, you guys had even more questions. So without further ado, we're actually going to dive into those questions. That's what today's video is going to be about. It's just patch 8. It got a new update. Things have changed. One thing got broken, but other things got fixed, and now we have more questions, so I have more answers. So big thank you to you guys, seriously. Today's sponsor is you guys and your questions, so let's just dive right into it. It really helps the channel if you watch all of this, but if you're just looking for specific questions, I've tried to make it really easy and organized for you guys, okay? So question and answers, let's get right into it. With patch 8 answers though, remember a lot of this is subject to change, just gotta say it. Top left, this is what update we're on, and with update 3, just as a PSA, might even do a video on it, we found out while trying to build this giant chicken in the background, Blade Song is Bork Song. So we're trying to figure it out. I did post to Larian, and I did find out that other players that are in the stress test have been also reporting this, okay? If you have the stress test, please go ahead and pass a report along if you can replicate what the issue was. Blade Song is just not giving out its bonuses, and we're trying to figure it out. So if you could, pass it along so it gets more immediate attention, because it is a pretty big problem. And that's all I have to request. Now, you guys have requested some questions, so it's time for some answers, and once again I appreciate you guys, if only because I appreciate the patience waiting to get some of these answers done. All right, so Boomer Blade, let's highlight some of the changes here. I'm going to dive right into it with I think it's Sharif's question here about War Magic specifically, in the order in which with the new update some things have changed. So let's just show you, and let me see if I can fix this real quick. All right, so we'll pull up the first clip here and we'll dive right in. Alright, so Sharif was asking, hey, real quick question, can you try this order now that things have changed with update 3 and Booming Blade and War Magic on an Eldritch Knight with improved extra attack? So we have just a pure level 12 Eldritch Knight. I have the War Magic at level 7 and the improved extra attack, right? So what we'll do is we'll use Booming Blade in sequential orders, right? So what I'm going to do is use it last, like Sharif was asking, right? So we use attack and then improved extra attack. On the final extra attack we'll use Booming Blade, and this is the issue I was bringing up with my update video. It's not triggering War Magic because of the changes they've made to try and make sure that you don't lose out on War Magics. Ironically, it's not working, so even when I action surge to repeat the process, I'll use Booming Blade last, and it still isn't triggering the bonus action attack from War Magic. So we'll skip ahead. It'll pop over. Now what I'm going to do is Booming Blade on the second attack. Okay, so I'll swing normally. Now I'll use Booming Blade. Here we go. Boom. And then I'll use a normal attack. And since I use Booming Blade, which is a cantrip, I should get the bonus. But again, it's not working. And I tried again with an action surge. So again, it'll be the second attack out of the 3 attacks that fighter would normally have. There we go. And now I'll swing it once again. And it's still not triggering War Magic. So does it not work? Is this not... how can we get this done? Is this just broken? Well, I don't know if it's broken or intended, but here's the right sequential order. You want a Booming Blade first. This is still going to give you improved extra attack, right? And we're almost done there. And then now I'm allowed to use my bonus action extra attack for War Magic. So the cantrip does actually trigger this, but you can't use Booming Blade using this. Again, I don't know if this is actually intended or if it's just the weird way that they're trying to make sure you don't lose out on War Magic and your bonus attacks and all that. And I still have to test the cleric version of this, but I figured this might hold you over. So this is the way to do it. In fact, I had another question here pertaining to this. So Bob McBob, War Magic again, no hasted surge, what's the best way to use it? Essentially, here, let me pull up his question exactly. Here we go. Bob McBob. pause here for a second. So he's confused about War Magic, and I am too. So I think I have the answer. If Eldritch Knight attacks with Booming Blade, then extra attacks, then the War Magic. So again, just to show you without any haste or actions, real quick. So just in the last clip, I'll do it again, just dedicated to no haste and no actions. So you have to Booming Blade first, but you won't lose out on your improved extra attack or your regular extra attack, so 3 attacks. And then because you Booming Blade first, it was a cantrip that triggered War Magic, so you get the bonus extra attack, but it seems like you can't use Booming Blade on that War Magic attack, okay? So you still get a lot of attacks, and you get to start things off strong with a Booming Blade, okay? And you just go right back into it. And Booming Blade is not once per turn anymore, it's just once per action. So you can use Booming Blade at any point in all those attacks, okay? But if you want War Magic with the Eldritch Knight, is a little specific way to do it, okay? So there's more Booming Blade questions, go figure. I knew this was gonna happen. All right, but you guys have awesome questions, and I've tried to document them really clearly for you. So Foul Weather, he said, does the Elemental Amulet affect the spell modifier added on to Booming Blade, just like the Potent Robes does? Which was so funny, because I told him, I was like, dude, well, I didn't even test the one question I had. So we both had this question: does the Necklace of Elemental Augmentation add your spell modifier, right? So to get at least one more for my intelligence on this build using the Elemental Augmentation Amulet, this is going to add it to my thunder damage and potentially my weapon damage, just like the Potent Robes does, because this is effectively kind of the same effect. The Potent Robes would use your charisma every single time. And this does count as a cantrip, and this does use thunder damage. You would think I would at least get my spell damage on the thunder, or my spell modifier on the thunder damage. So just to make sure the amulet's even working, because it's not working on Booming Blade, right? I still don't understand why this doesn't work. Maybe I need to document and fully report this to Larian, but we're trying to figure things out. So what I'm going to do is use Shocking Grasp, which is a cantrip, and it does lightning damage, so it counts for adding that additional spell modifier damage. So we'll hover over here, and you can see spell modifier, and it even says Elemental Augmentation. But of course, when I go to use Booming Blade again, we know that the amulet's working, but it doesn't work with Booming Blade. This is really disappointing, but I'm not going to kind of like belabor this, and maybe it is just a bug that they're not aware of, and I'll try and use that clip as a report, okay? So, appreciate the question. Now we'll go to Olden Son. He has some questions about Metamagic. I think a lot of you guys are trying to wonder about Metamagic with Booming Blade. I've explained them before, but this is going to be a little more comprehensive, okay? So let's go over what Metamagics can be used with Booming Blade, especially now that it's been updated, update 3. Maybe anything was changed. So what I have here is just like straight up Sorcerer. This is actually not a bad idea for Sorcerer, but I won't get into all that. You could play a melee Sorcerer if you want to, and one of the reasons why is because of Booming Blade. Okay, so Distant does not work. Okay, Twin, I guess we'll start with Twin. So Twin doesn't let me target 2 targets. Distant does not let me enhance the range and turn this from a melee attack into a ranged attack. But you can see, if I use Shocking Grasp, which is a melee cantrip, I don't get the circle on the Booming Blade like I would with Shocking Grasp. So none of those work. But I've known this, and I've used this in my playthrough. Quicken does actually work. So if you want to go for a Sorcerer multiclass, use Quicken to get another Booming Blade. It's an excellent strategy. Alright, so you can do that. And check this out. You can even use Extended. So Extended is going to enhance the turn in which the Booming Blade effect actually happen. So normally you just hit them and it lasts for 1 turn. If they move, then they'll take more damage, right? So now you can bump it up to 2 turns, so when they move on both the first turn and the second turn, they'll get an additional Booming Blade damage, alright? So you can actually bump this up thanks to that. And so what I'll do is I'll walk away and see if he can go ahead, take the damage. I'll disengage. This is turn 2. The effect is still lasting. Here we go. And he's gonna come running after me. Ready? And you're dead. Okay. So hopefully that kind of clarified the Metamagic. We can use this video as a reference, because I have answered this and it doesn't seem like it's changed, but I don't think I've ever had all the answers of all the Metamagics for Booming Blade. So hopefully that helped out, Olden. Alright, so we got Marcos. He had, for the Booming Blade, does the status damage work on forced movement, not just their own movement? So we pull this up. Forced movement. There we go. So specifically, he had a combo using the Swarmkeeper Booming Blade to push them with the bees, and then use the Sorrow Glaive to get the bonus action Thorn Whip to pull them in. And these are all actions that would push and pull them against their will. If you could use this with Booming Blade, then the condition would possibly do more damage, right? So what I have here is a sorcerer again. I have Thorn Whip, and I can just quicken magic it. So what I'll do is use the bees and Booming Blade, like he was saying, and that should be able to push him. As long as I have a really high spell save DC, I should reliably be able to push with Booming Blade. So that does work. But now that he has Booming Blade, even though I pushed him, he didn't move himself, I did. So that doesn't count, right? What if I pull him in? It still doesn't count. At least from all the different times I've tested this in different ways in my playthroughs, they have to be the ones forcefully, or, you know, willingly move. So I guess that's the way it's hard-coded to work, or there's like secret conditions there. But I haven't found any like forced movement that would actually trigger this, okay? So let's move on. Now we got some giant questions. Some Path of the Giants. All right, let's do it. So, Path of the Giants. Let me pull this question up. Here we go. Giant damage. Let's go. Alright, let me pause for a second. So RPG Legacy noticed that, I believe at level 9, you're supposed to get +3 damage instead of the +2. And because it's a thrown attack, it should be doubled up. If for those who don't know, when you're in Rage as a Giant, you do throw attacks, you get the Rage bonus multiple times. Basically 2 times, right? With Elemental Cleaver, it's even crazier because it applies the element damage as well. But RPG basically was saying it should actually apply +3 bonus, which would mean +3/+3 on thrown attacks, right? So as far as I've seen, when you're in Rage, right, we don't actually get anything beyond the +2/+2 like before, right? So you do get your double bonus, but the thing is at level 9, maybe you're supposed to get more, but it even says here in the Rage description, you would only get the doubled up or +4. It's funny how it's worded +4 in the description, but on the combat log, it's just the Rage bonus twice when you're throwing. So it doesn't really apply, but the good thing is it still works with your elemental thrown damage as well. So yeah, RPG, I don't know if from tabletop rules or if it's a bug or they haven't updated or it's intentional, but I can tell you at least the way it's working, no, it doesn't go up to +3. So good question there, because I could have swore it's supposed to do that from tabletop. All right, so moving on. Here we go. Next we have Parsley. Let me pull up his question. Another giant question. Thermodynamics and the heat condition. Okay, so let me pause this for a second. I'm interested to know how Elemental Cleaver with the thrown property would work with thermodynamics, or can you build heat with the gloves as well? So I have both, and I'm going to actually try and control it to see which one is working, which one isn't working. Are they working at all? So I have the gloves and the thermodynamic axe. The axe works based on, let me pause, if you throw the weapon and do damage, well, not throw the weapon, but if you do damage with the weapon, you're supposed to get 2 heat, right? Now if we look at the gloves, right, if you use fire damage, you're supposed to get 2 heat, at least as far as I understand, right? Okay, so I know I'm going to be able to do fire damage with Elemental Cleaver infused, right? And I'm also technically hitting with the weapon, so I should get 4 stacks of heat, just like Parsley was saying. Okay, so let me go ahead and throw the Thermodynamics with a fire cleave, and boom, I get 2 heat. So I did get heat. One of these is working, but which one is it? Because I threw the weapon or because I did fire damage? Because it can't be both. I would have had 4 heat, right? So I'm gonna go with, I think it's the gloves. And the easy way for me to change this is just go lightning or some other element. And if I hit with the weapon and I get heat now, it was the axe, right? But I didn't. Okay, so we know it's more than likely the gloves that gives the heat, because this is not really surprising. Every time I've tested Giant Cleaver, it just doesn't really give the weapon property or weapon abilities in like 99% cases, and I'll show you that in the next question. So good question, Tarsley. Appreciate that. Hopefully that gave you an answer. So you can get heat if you throw with the gloves, and then you could apply that heat on any kind of fire damage like the Elemental Cleaver damage, okay? Okay, moving on, we got Omer Maimon. Let me pull up his question. This is another giant question related to, again, a weapon effect. So do the Sussur weapons actually apply when you throw them using Elemental Cleaver, right? So what I'll go ahead and I found that the sickle, I think, is the like most reliable silence. I could be wrong about that, but I tried like as many times as I could throwing this, Again, you infuse it. It should be able to apply the weapon damage and all the bonuses, but it just never really applies weapon-specific properties. And I'll skip ahead. What I'm going to do is actually use the cheater scroll to just give me like a bunch of actions once again. Okay, so I'll use action search. Now I have like a billion actions. But I'm just going to keep throwing until these guys are dead, and if they don't get silenced, I'm not going to claim I know, but it just doesn't seem like it would even be worth it if it takes a 20,000 throws to get one silence. And I'm pretty sure the silence effect isn't this low of a chance if it's not already guaranteed on Sussur, Sickle, or whatnot. So yeah, all three of these weapons don't seem to silence in my testings, so just to save time, it doesn't look like that's the case, which isn't too surprising to me. I know it's kind of a bummer, because there was like really a lot of cool potential there for these weapons applying on Throne. So now let's move on to Hexblade. And you guys have been asking me this. Again, I appreciate all the patience trying to get the answers for you and just documenting some stuff. Update 3 kind of, you know, jumped in the way with that. So what we'll do is some quick questions right here. Here we go. So from both Probe and Bread and a lot of you guys, just this pretty much encapsulates, do you guys think the Battle Master moves, or say weapon specific moves, if we turn it into a Hexblade or a Pact of the Blade, it now uses our charisma, right? But do these specific weapons, right, these weapon attacks like Soulbreaker on this sword, or the Battle Master moves, is this going to actually go off of our charisma spell save DC to enhance the capabilities, like the effect from happening? Or does it just go off of maybe strength, dex, con, whatever these weapons usually go off of, or the Battle Master abilities go off of? So what I did is I obviously hexed the Soulbreaker sword here, the legendary one. Okay, so I get the curse, so I'm definitely using Pact of the Blade or Hex weapon, right? But you can see here the spell save DC is not the 17 I had on my Warlock Charisma spell save DC, right? So in terms of the Battle Master maneuvers, in terms of Soulbreaker, even Pommel, stuff like this, I don't know specifically where it was coming from. I didn't really calculate it up too much. I just know it's not matching up with the spell save 17 DC for my Hexblade Warlock. So unfortunately, it doesn't really enhance anything. Might even be a deterrent for going into Hexblade with this Battle Master and whatnot. You're gonna have to focus on maybe strength or dex, wherever it's derived from originally. Alright, so you can see there, nah, maybe doesn't work that way. So Pact Hexblade doesn't really change the spell save DC for these weapon moves or Battle Master moves. And finally, check it out. We got one more question about Hexblade. And this, I know you guys have been asking a lot too. Appreciate the patience. Right here, Alucard and Linam said it best. What if, can we like curse multiple targets with the Hexblade? Can you like just show us that clearly? And what if you use like say the Tiger Barbarian to cleave a whole bunch of times when you enrage? Can we, if we can get multiple targets, can we just use this attack? Is it pretty effective? All right, so check this out. So once again, I am using a Hexblade weapon. I'm Tiger Barbarian, I'm sweeping attacks, and there we go. And now, let's find out. So you definitely curse with this attack, but is it only going to apply to one? And we sweep, and then let me sweep again. Action surge. So it doesn't look like it, right? Like the cleaver, I guess you can't. I could have swore when I ran Hexblade, I got multiple targets. Maybe I should have used the bonus action to curse them. I don't know, but let's try it one more time. Let me restart the fight, enrage, and right here on the first swing, there we go. Boom, got him, right? And one more, and ta-da! So, like I said, I was pretty sure you could curse things, but I didn't really have it like straight up documented. And yes, the Tiger Barbarian is probably a really great way to do that, since you can consistently keep getting good damage, cleaving, add stacking effects to it. This is actually a really good idea for a Hexblade, and if I had more time, we would have built this and shown this off. So I'll try and keep this in my pocket, do a video with this specific idea. So good questions all around. I appreciate that, guys. But that's going to do it for today. And of course, the chicken behind me and all these weirdos over here, we are going to do a team here. Just a little bit, I'll show you what that's all about. But get ready for that. I appreciate all your questions. That's all I have time for today. But once again, I appreciate everybody who's asking questions. If you have more, drop them in the comment section or come into live chat. Sometimes we experiment there too. You guys are the sponsors of today's video and all videos, so I really appreciate it. Can't do it without you. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, the biggest help for the channel is just enjoying the video and watching the whole thing. But otherwise, if you want to support it with memberships or just come watching the live stream, that's the most fun, dude. I can't wait to stream this big chicken. But otherwise, keep asking me some questions. I'll try and make the time and the dedicated videos to answering your questions. Until then, you guys have a blessed one and take it easy.